One picture was my greatest mistake. On the very top of one of the images, it said the date the x-ray was taken. The HIPAA compliance guy said, date. That's a thing that can be identifiable if someone went and looked up all the x-rays that were done at this hospital. On this date, they could find that x-ray. That was the biggest thing that just led on to everything else. I had to do a huge presentation on it. I actually created this 3 years ago as part of a capstone in order to graduate of what I did wrong and what I learned. So that's the long story short of my biggest mistake. Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Moss. I am presenting today at the Illinois Psychiatric Society on social media content guidelines, lessons and challenges of being on social media. So for the first things that I'm going to do, I'm going to start with the disclosures and objectives of this talk. I'll be talking for the first time on my greatest mistake I've decided that I've ever done. I'll be talking about 3 strategies for success if you want to start doing or you're thinking about doing social media, what you should actually focus on so you're successful. 4, why does it matter to be on social media? 5, where to share. And 6, some social media guidelines that exist out there in the universe and some specific ones that we're working on creating. So I always like to start with disclosures. So first, I am on the public mode on social media everywhere but Facebook. I keep Facebook for my family. And then 2, I am the host of a YouTube page, Dr. Moss on YouTube, a podcast, Life as a Patient Doctor, and a medical school with Dr. Moss. I have now, literally this past week, a ViewMedi, and then I have a website, medpsychmoss.com. 3, I have major paid sponsorships and affiliates. The ones that I talk a lot about is UWorld, Online Med Ed, and Janu Scrubs. But the biggest thing that I am set on is non-pharmaceuticals, because obviously that's what I prescribe. So anything that I prescribe to patients, I don't like to have any bias on, so that's a firm stop for me. And then 4, I did not get money to do this talk. Okay, so what are these objectives? So first, I want you to be able to identify and how to address the risks and challenges of being on social media and creating content, specifically medical content. 2, how to ethically contribute to social media, if that's something that you are interested in doing. And 3, we're going to actually review current professional guidelines that exist out there, and also I'm going to ask if you can help contribute to the guidelines so we can actually improve the guidelines that are out there, because there isn't a lot officially out there. Okay. I'm going to take a deep breath, because literally this morning I had an anxiety attack because we're going to talk about this, because this is if you know anything about me as a person on social media, I'm a very transparent person. And one of the things I haven't been fully transparent on was what my greatest mistake was in social media that really put me almost at risk of not being able to get my medical degree. So going back to my 3rd year of medical school, I was in internal medicine, and we had a phenomenal patient who I became very close with. He had been walking on the street for weeks and months. He didn't have anyone that was caring for him, an older individual. He was using substances. And when we got to his foot x-ray, so many of his bones had been broken, and he had a massive hole in the middle of his foot from osteomyelitis, from walking without shoes, and he also had diabetes, so he couldn't even feel his feet anymore. It was just a very emotionally impactful experience for the patient and I. It was my first patient that really had this experience, and I had to talk to them, and it actually got me a lot interested in psychiatry. But anyway, we had a really interesting x-ray. I took a picture of that x-ray from our computer and I wrote a very long blog post explaining this x-ray and explaining how patients, that we need to pay attention to unshelteredness, pay attention to diabetes, osteomyelitis, and I thought I had done so well. I thought I had done the HIPAA thing, protected it from HIPAA, protected from fee. I even took a picture, because actually, originally, the patient had never even seen the picture of his x-ray that all of us were all talking about. So I was like, hey, I'll take a picture of the x-ray for you, and I'll bring it. I showed it to him on his phone, and he loved it. And I actually, even verbally, said, hey, this is actually a very unique case, and I want other people to learn about it. Is it okay if I share this picture? So here I am, a third-year medical student, making sure HIPAA is covered, making sure fees covered, making sure it's de-identified, getting patient verbal permission. I thought I had hit all the boxes. A couple months later, it wasn't even immediate. One of my peers actually submitted to the Honor Council that I did this. And I received that violation complaint. I worked with the lawyer, head of HIPAA compliance, and I explained to him my story, all the things that I thought I had made sure I had addressed for the safety of the patient. And funny enough, the compliance officer actually agreed with me. So why was this a problem? We looked at the pictures again. One picture was my greatest mistake. On the very top of one of the images, it said the date the x-ray was taken. The HIPAA compliant guy said, date. That's a thing that can be identifiable. If someone went and looked up all the x-rays that were done at this hospital on this date, they could find that x-ray. That was the biggest thing that just led on to everything else. I had to do a huge presentation on it. I actually created this 3 years ago as part of a capstone in order to graduate of what I did wrong and what I learned. So that's the long story short of my biggest mistake. Let's learn how this doesn't happen to you, because I don't want this to happen to you. I want to help you learn how to ethically and professionally be able to meaningfully post online as a medical student, a resident, a doctor, attending in the field. Now we're going to get to strategies. 3 strategies. Strategy number 1. What really is HIPAA? So we all do those like HIPAA compliance every single year. So we've seen this so often. Standards, protect patients, we all know it, but what really is it? HIPAA protection is for fee. Fee is really where the protected health information is. And so it's identifiable information, but what in the world is identifiable? We know the big names, name, address, birthday, social security. This is 18, a list of 18 identifiers, and this is where I started having my anxiety attack this morning, because this was the exact page I had to bring up when I went to the Honor Council. And somewhere on there, here it is, all elements of dates except year. So any type of dates. Number 3. Also, something that is full face. That can be identifiable. Eyes, identifiable. I've seen guidelines that also says skin, because there was also a picture of the patient, not just the x-ray picture, but it had their skin tone. So even though that's not an official patient identifier, a part of the Honor Council's thing was because I had also a picture of skin that was identifiable enough. So I had to go, okay, let's, just for this presentation, what's an x-ray? And I did want to say the x-ray that I just showed was not that x-ray. I had to delete it off my phone, my email, or website. I had to make sure I had no access to that x-ray after I took it. Per the HIPAA and ethical team at my medical school. So I just looked up on Google, okay, let's look up x-rays. What is out there? I went to Radiopedia because that's a common enough where that is literally their thing, is to show x-rays. So we look closer at it, no dates. It's just black and white. It literally can be of anybody in the whole wide world, can be any year. So that is non-identifiable. Strategy number 2, verbal versus written consent. The verbal is usually great, but journals mostly require written. Some schools, some hospitals require written. They did not have any policy at my school requiring written, but after I did this mistake, they implemented that it now had to be written. So my verbal consent was not valid. So there are so many consent forms out there. Every single hospital, I ask, what is your consent form? Some forms, they've never even seen it before. The VA, where I'm at, I went through IRB. I went through so many levels in the VA, and they realized that there was some things say, yes, they need written, but don't actually provide a written. And then there's some things that say, no, you don't need written. So I've been using, when I have a patient that has a cool case, you can see at this QR code. This one has it's a bit too complicated for patients because it's 2 pages, a lot of words. So I've used it, but it becomes overwhelming for patients or their families. So I like this one that is shorter, that takes this longer one, makes it shorter, gets it to the point, and we'll go on the next slide to actually learn what is specifically needed from a legal point. So, purpose, why, that you're going to be anonymous, say about the HIPAA and the fee, non-identifiable, that they are choosing, you're not forcing them, you're also not paying them to receive. Those are 2 very important things. Now the withdrawal consent, some forms say they can withdraw the consent at any time, but the reality is we don't provide them their contact information. So sometimes it says you can do it up to a certain point. Usually I say while I'm still your doctor, because we have that conversation, but it's hard to know at the end. And so far in the past 4 years of using a consent form, thankfully I haven't had issues of it since then and having this written consent form, but that is also part of the legal document, is patient knows, and I very much explained to them, this is the exact information I'm gonna talk about. This is the things I'm gonna share. What do you think of this? And I've been very happy. I've been very surprised, honestly, that a lot of people, because they know that it's to help other people, that way other people don't have to struggle like them, they're willing to share their story anonymously. And that's what this does, but also protects us. Strategy number 3, focus on educational intent. So limits, this has been the strategy I've taken on after the x-ray case. I learned, okay, I personally do not feel emotionally ready to tackle the educational about health conditions. Slowly over this past year, I've started to go a little bit of psychiatry, of teaching a little bit about delusions, a little bit about trauma or that sort of thing. But still, because I've had such a negative experience, I still struggle with it. Oh no, we didn't talk about this one. Make sure that the information you're sharing is accurate, and also verbalize that things can change. We're all in science and medicine. We know that maybe one thing we knew 10 years ago is going to be completely different 10 years in the future. So always sharing things, and honestly, that this is the information we know to this date. It can change, and when something does change, remove that content or put another content saying, I did this, that was what we knew at that point, or a mistake. I thought I knew this, but actually, now that I've been more in the field, I've changed my mind, or research in science and medicine has changed their mind. So it's really important when focusing on education, think about who's the audience that you're trying to educate. Is it pre-meds? Is it medical students? Is it doctors? Is it nurses? Is it other health professionals? Is it non-health professionals? Is it a public? And then make sure that the way you're articulating it is for that audience, which in psychiatry, we're pretty good at that. Okay, so what can you educate about? Public health. That was a big thing during COVID. You're talking about vaccine, hand washing, public health, that there's a lot of information out there by the CDC and stuff to make things that are already out there, but then share it with the rest of the community. You're just re-articulating it for the broader community. This is the second one that I mentioned. You can also do medical science or content just on science, because we've spent many years on this topic. For me, I've done over the past years is how to apply to residency, because that's something I struggled with and I knew a lot of people had too. So that's what my content focuses on, applying to residency or dealing with a lot of the challenges in medical school that are stigmatized. That is my individual lens, because it doesn't have to do with patients. It has to do with sharing. I'm the patient, sharing my own experience and the lessons learned. So you probably thought when I was going to do this talk that I was going to talk about the main social media, Twitter, Instagram, X, TikTok. But there's so much more. And I think that is really where it can be. Once you realize that social media means social connecting and sharing in some media form, that's where it really gets, that's where maybe you can expand where you're thinking that you might be able to share. So let's get into some big ones that I've individually done. So we can talk about the common ones. The Reddit, more anonymous, but I chose it to be non-anonymous. YouTube, Instagram, those are the ones I was talking about. But if that's not your thing, and that's okay, I'm not doing this to say you all need to join Instagram and start posting. That's not what this talk is about. I want to expand what we think content is. So if your thing is writing, narrative medicine is so meaningful for us as psychiatrists, as medical students, learning to share our own story as an op-ed or op-med. Ones that I have done and have enjoyed are Doximity. I actually was a Doximity fellow, so they paid me for a year of being an op-med fellow. And so I had to produce, I think, 6 op-eds, and I had a writer or an editor which helped me articulate. And so that's really where I pushed my boundaries and pushed the things that I wasn't comfortable yet sharing on my own when I was a Doximity fellow. And since I had an editor with another set of eyes, that's where I more was willing to share a little bit more about my struggles with professionalism or medical education. So that is open to you too. And it's not just writing. Doximity Fellowship also has a video one. I almost did that too, but one thing at a time. Kevin MD, that was one that I started doing in medical school. That one was a great first one to kind of get my feet wet. A great podcast, great narrative medicine too. A lot of us are psych residents. Psych news. If you went to the APA, you can share your experience on going to the APA. If there was a presentation that was meaningful to you, Psych News publishes it. So that's a great way to get more your feet wet with narrative and writing medicine. And then I put a QR code where I try to post all my work there so it's easier to find, so you can see a little bit more. Like I went into ones on infertility when I went through that. I have an endometriosis one at the Endometriosis Foundation. So there's a lot of different lists there that I've done just so you can start getting an idea and maybe find something that you might be interested in. Why social media, social matters. because we are in 2026, and that's how people, I didn't say patients, I said you and me, get a lot of your information. Our older attendings that pull up their computer or phone when they don't know something and put it into ChatGPT or all the different AIs now, or just in general. This is how, in the 21st, we're still, but 2026, this is how we get our information. And it's really hard. It's no longer, if it's a .org or if it's a .pub that we know it's correct. And so this is where your education that you've spent so much time, this is another way that you might consider contributing to the world and community. That's the positive of why we should think about being a part of social media to help share, because that's where people are getting in their information. Now I'm going to back up and do a lot of the concerns that people have, and I have those concerns. I started this talk with talking about the biggest concern that people have: getting kicked out of residency, medical school, their job. I was there, almost there. So there's concerns of the professionalism of breaking boundaries, of accidentally, unintentionally hurting a patient, or a patient identifies themselves. There's where is our ethical boundary? What if a patient looks you up online? Now they know about you. There's so much, I think, concerns out there that sometimes the concerns prevent us from actually addressing the concerns or saying, how can we still do this ethically and professionally? Okay, I talked about why it's important. Misinformation. We've heard these terms: misinformation, disinformation. I'm going to explain both of them. Misinformation is false or inaccurate information that was a mistake, an error. People don't know the information. People made a mistake. You could accidentally do it. It's not on purpose. Disinformation. That's where there are individuals that are purposely, maliciously putting out information to cause chaos or distrust in medicine or psychiatry or in broader academics and science. So it's actually intended to confuse and cause harm to others and to mislead them. This should be our priority. How can we share things in real time, things that are out there? We all know the phrases that people constantly say that are stigmatized or just wrong. This is where we have the opportunity to actually tell the real, and we have that privilege because of all the hard work that we've done, that people trust us. And that is a very dangerous but privilege. And so that's how what we say does matter and does come with some authority. And we have to acknowledge that when we say something, people will listen, and that can be used positively and negatively. But just like in regular medicine, when we have a patient in front of us, we do no harm. That is one of our key traits as doctors. Let's get to guidelines. I talked about this before, social media and medicine, a lot of words up here, but I feel like, because this is, when I ask people, when I ask doctors, when I ask medical students and residents, this is the words, all the stuff I get. Yeah, it's helpful because it's networking. Oh, but I don't know. Some guidelines are inconsistent. I don't know what my organization says. Oh, I use it professionally, but I don't think I can use it professionally. And so the reality is, the majority of us physicians use social media in some capacity, over 70%. But actually, a very small people create medical content to actually fight misinformation, disinformation, and be public out there. So this was a study that one of my medical students found that really talked about that physicians do relatively recognize that there is beneficial to their own career, They do believe that there is a purpose, but then they're also very concerned because a lot of us didn't grow up with it. I think my first social media was Facebook, and that was, I believe, end of middle school. If that was us and my millennial generation, what about everyone before us, which is a lot of the physicians? I went in and I'm going to be sharing the professional guidelines that I found at my university and my VA to kind of get an idea of where we're at. The typical university guidelines that exist out there is when you're posting on university-sponsored websites, if you have a role as a resident, only speak within your role. Always distinguish, this is my view, not the institution's rule. We already mentioned the other things of professionalism, privacy. Big thing is avoiding conflicts of interest. Next is what happens when you do break one of these rules. These are the things that could happen. I'm sharing something that can happen. Easiest thing is they ask you to remove it. Easy. Professionalism strikes. Emotionally and academically, a little bit worse. Disciplinary action. A little bit more worse. Reputation. Maybe people not believing you. Maybe people not giving you a job because, or a next line position. Because, oh, that's a social media person. They could share something. And then the worst is suspicion or dismissal. Okay, so this is my institution's guidelines that they said, which I just summarized before. And it actually was important that they are the one. I really liked how this university done it. They've provided very clear guidelines of you can't create your own organization using the name they will run. Our program director, our administrator runs our social media, and that was a huge challenge at first. They hadn't done social media for our program, and I think that impacted a lot of medical students not knowing about our program or even residents. So this past year, I finally was able to convince our program director and our clinic and to do a social media so we can share all that our residency does. And it worked. These past 2 intern classes, the previous one and then the one coming in, played people from all over the United States. So it definitely worked to share the types of things that we're doing at our institution. And then specifically, okay, so that was the institutional use. Now talking about the personal use. So use the university logo is prohibited. That's why I'm very careful to, when I'm talking very much about me, I've been getting better of not wearing my Patagonia that says it, but then I have gotten talks with my program director of what is helpful and which one should I. So it's all about conversation of which ones I can post with my residency, ones not. It's hard because they're so close, but it's not very specific. So hopefully the guidelines that we're creating are a bit more specific. But don't say that people were from the university or from that place. Okay, here it is. Number 3. If you identify your relationship, which I do, a lot of people decide to not, that our views are expressed by you and not the university or institution. That's how I do it. And that's something that I will talk about that's very important to do on your social media, on your content, on whatever. It's saying this is my own opinion, not the people I work for. So they actually have also a very clear guidelines that talks about it, that explains no identifying information, and then they created a lot of more specific things for vets. And then they actually said we encourage it. We encourage on public forums to talk about it, but be respectful, no soliciting, participate at your own risk. But I was proud that at least the VA federal institution had something. Now, as we get closer, I wanted to take the opportunity because this past year, I was very honored to be accepted for, has anyone heard of Dr. Glockenflecken? He had a social media residency, they called it, where this is all we talked about for 3 months. We talked about sharing okay, what has worked on social media? What hasn't worked? What can we do to make it better? How can we fight misinformation? So this is a part of his he actually used to charge for the social media guide. I messaged them earlier this week. I'm like, hey, where's the link? I'm willing to pay for it for my presentation. They gave it to you all for free. So right there, and I don't get paid for this. Like I said, it's sponsored, but I don't get paid for that because this is what we're creating, is creating a better social media guide. So that QR code goes to his social media guide that he and his group created. Okay, his major things. Lead with ethical integrity. Just like who you are as a doctor. Compassion, empathy, honesty, and transparency. Always put, not medical advice. That's for a legal thing. That way they don't come back and be like, this doctor said this, that's why I had to do it. No. That's why we always say, not medical advice, just education. And then we always mentioned, own opinions, not institutions. Like I did at the beginning, and whenever they do pay me, not very often, but you disclose partnerships or affiliates. Oh, I forgot to say Now You Know Psych. So now I work with Now You Know Psych and Now You Know Neuro. Simplify big, scary, complicated science. That is easy for us because we've spent so many years learning it. Simplify it to help educate, especially when it comes to public health. And then this is something that he is Dr. Lockenflecken, which is not his real name, is Dr. Flannery. I still call him Dr. G or Dr. F. He's very set on, don't be negative towards patients and other healthcare providers. If you look on all his social and all his posts, he does in line or above. What I mean by that, he will only make fun of people, of other doctors, other MDs, other DOs, other specialties, or up high in hierarchy, the medical insurance. That is a personal thing for him, and also I think for a lot of us, to not go down the hierarchy, not make fun of people on the lower hierarchy, whether if that is medical students, pre-meds, nurses, social workers, because unfortunately we live in a hierarchy in medicine, and so it's very important to then not take advantage and perpetuate that hierarchy and negativity. Okay, last bonus tip. How to deal with trolls. Of course, it happens. And it's usually people who that's their role. They want to emotionally trigger you, mock you, cause some type of reaction to you. If you go to my professionalism article on Doximity, a lot of them are not trolls, thankfully. Unfortunately, they're just very disrespectful opinions. But either way, whether trolls or ones that are very hateful, since it's your media, you can decide. If you put something public out there, you have the ability to say that comment is deleted. Not always, but if it's usually on social media, if you're the one who put it out, usually you can redact it. If you publish on like big things like Doximity, they have automatic that they go through and delete it, or if you report it, they will look at it and delete it or hide it. If it is something concerning that you see that people are actively doing that disinformation to actually cause harm to others, that is a great time to report it so they don't keep spreading that information. Or if they're individually attacking you, going into your DMs and you can't just block them, that also would be a great time to report. The nice thing about social media is we can step away. We can turn off, go away, go write the response somewhere else, go call your friends. I did that a lot. When I released anything that I knew was going to have some sort of backlash, I definitely got my best friends that I was crying with. But don't post a response yet. Wait a couple hours or a day. There is some of the many references that we used, And then I also, since you're here, I want to ask you, help us build better guidelines. So one of the things that we're going to be getting together, medical content creators, especially in psychiatry, we're going to be getting together and providing our suggestions to APA so they can endorse an official one. That's like our dream, not going to happen right away in the future. Our first step to that is to get people's experience. We have so many anecdotal experiences, like I said, of messing up, but we want to hear your experience. Why do you do a private account or public account? What challenges have you encountered? What fears do you have? So please, that's what this survey is. I think last time I checked, it was like 10 people. So I would love for you to have your opinion, to share your opinion on what you think should be on these guidelines. And then the QR code with the little starry thing, that's to my link that I created that makes it easier for you to find my website, all my social media, specific people that I sponsor, stuff like that, specific writings that people have found most meaningful. But anyway, thank you so much. Like I said, I've been doing this for years, and I was very honored that you all invited me. Thank you so much, and I'm here to answer any questions that you have. I think it's so important that the big institutions, the big organizations are the ones that are putting out these guidelines, because once they have something official, then other people follow. So actually, when I was coming into residency, that was one of the first things I looked for, obviously, after my mistakes. And yes, my program director very much knew my mistake because it was on my MSPE, and that was a major conversation I had with every single program director that I met with, was why do you have this weird professionalism thing? I was able to give literally short version of this and what I'm doing forward. So what I'm doing forward is actually making this and educating others so they don't make the same mistakes, but can also contribute positively. So we need to provide guidelines and also how, not just say don't post or post with caution, but actually explain how to do it. So this was also the very first time I've actually created this talk. So please, feedback or put it on there of things that I should include, because this is the first talk I've done on this topic. So I plan on definitely doing this topic in the future at other places and build on it. I think in general, when we're talking about people with education on a topic, like that's where they're experts. And so I think it's very important to encourage people who have expertise. And expertise doesn't mean you have an award that says that. That can be lived experience of living with some health condition. As I mentioned, I share my experience on infertility. Or that can be a psychologist that works really closely with this type of trauma patients, and they're willing to share what they've learned. But we're talking about cross collaboration. I think it's also, that is another huge benefit of social media, is by having, there are many ways that you can I literally was about to say the same thing. A lot of times it's like you can both write an article together. You can have a podcast. So like on my podcast, Life as a Patient Doctor, I work on not just interviewing doctors in medical schools about their lived experience, but also bringing in other professions. So bringing in nurses, social workers, psychologists. So that's some way that I've brought in a lot of people on. You can do that also on YouTube, people who are bringing in interviews. If one person is a content creator in this said topic, in one specialty or one degree, and then someone is another, you can definitely both post on the same one, so then they're both sharing with both their communities. A lot of these social media apps, they've started doing, like on YouTube they've been doing it, on Instagram they've been doing it now more, that you can post, share, collaboration, and then it shares to both of their support group, or like both their followers. Thank you everyone, have a good night.